My name's Dale Hancocks. I'm a qualified lawyer in Ontario, Canada, and I've recently passed the QLTS assessments, and am now a qualified solicitor in England and Wales. I studied law here in Ontario. I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Western Ontario. I did my master's in intellectual property at Osgoode Hall, York University. And after that, I did a little postgraduate work at King's College, University of London. My experience has been primarily in the media industry, so all of my legal training to date has been focused in that regard. All my work experience to date has been in the media legal industry, and the company I currently work for is Corus Entertainment, and we're active in 160 countries throughout the world, licensing content and intellectual property rights. The QLTS scheme is a very unique scheme and allows me to leverage my current legal skills and training and move into the England and Wales jurisdiction, which, as we know, is a commercial hub and international center. I thought a preparation course was essential simply because you're evaluated on so many aspects of English law, many of which I don't have regular exposure to. So for me, given the areas I practice in to date, I didn't think my breadth of experience was wide enough. So I thought it was essential to get some assistance in that regard, and QLTS School provided that assistance. When I first received the materials from QLTS School for preparation training towards the MCT assessment, I found that the materials incredibly comprehensive, and in particular, those elements that I wasn't familiar with in terms of English law, whether it be related to public law or tort law, etc. I found those very beneficial. They were concise, complete overview, very helpful. I actually calculated I had about anywhere from 10 to 20 hours per week to put towards studying. The pattern that I ended up following is I would work all day and come home in the evening and would commence my studies around 8 o'clock at night. And I would try and do this at least 4 nights a week, sometimes 5. And I would target, perhaps 2 hours a night, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. And then on the weekend, I would target 4 hours, and depending on how I was feeling, I may try and do more. But I sustained that from January right through to June, which was the time I was taking the relevant assessments. So overall, about 10 to 20 hours per week is what I put in for a good period of time. I didn't disclose immediately the fact that I was going through the QLTS scheme or preparing for it. When I did, though, which was much later in the process, after I had successfully completed the MCT assessment and was on to the OSCE assessment, when I did share that information with the firm that I work with, which is actually a company, Corus Entertainment, Inc., they were completely supportive of what I was doing, especially since they saw the benefit immediately. As a result of our international dealings, they certainly understood that this would not only benefit me as an individual, but benefit them as a company as well. So their support from that point on was unwavering. You never know how prepared you are until you come face to face with the paper in front of you or the assessor. I felt I had done as much as I could possibly do with the time constraints I had, and I put good effort in making certain I understood not only the breadth of the content, but the depth of the content. And the mock evaluations that I went through in preparation for the OSCE were extremely helpful. So I knew going in I had done as much as I could. And I was relieved, actually, when I started going through the assessments, because it proved that I was ready and I was prepared. And I was pleased, especially because I came through those assessments, passing them successfully first time. I'm currently the Vice President Operations and Associate General Counsel at Corus Entertainment, Inc. My role is to oversee the creation of content from a legal perspective and also the licensing of that content internationally. Our company currently operates in 160 countries throughout the world, and so any content that we create, I oversee the licensing of that to the likes of broadcasters, whether it be digital platforms, cable platforms, Netflix, all kinds of parties that may acquire content for a variety of purposes. I think QLTS has helped me immensely, again, because of the international nature of the business in which our company operates. It's important to have that foundation of understanding as it relates to English and Welsh law. The common law principles that exist underpin so many commercial transactions that happen throughout the world. So it has proved essential to my legal experience to have that understanding, and QLTS certainly has contributed towards that. Not only is it necessary, it is essential. I don't think I would have experienced the success I did without having gone through the QLTS School preparation course. I would highly recommend that people immerse themselves in the material, and they do that as soon as possible. For me, I gave myself approximately 6 months preparation time. That proved to be the right amount of time. Could I have done it in less time? Possibly. Should I have spent more time? I don't think it was necessary for me. But the approach that I was taking was not just to pass the assessments, but to immerse myself in everything surrounding English law, trying to understand the approaches, the practices, and the culture that surrounds the practice of law as a solicitor in England and Wales. So for me, I would recommend immersing yourself in the material and beginning preparations as soon as possible. I would recommend the QLTS to any lawyer that is engaged in cross-border or international transactional work. I think there's very few circumstances where a modern-day lawyer can carry on practice in their own jurisdiction, oblivious to some of the things that are happening globally. So quite frankly, I think anyone, any lawyer, should go through the QLTS experience. Yeah, I think to be a modern lawyer, clearly you have to have an understanding of legal principles. My experience in Canada certainly contributes towards that, but without doubt the QLTS is a huge contributor towards that. You know, English law has such carriage throughout the world, either directly or indirectly, that it's essential to have that foundation. Second, I think being commercially aware, knowing what your clients are trying to achieve is critical. And then thirdly, I think having the technical expertise to translate that commercial objective into something useful, functional, etc.